Good evening, everyone. Today is Thursday, March 16th, and we are at Waterbury Arts Magnet School for a regular meeting of the Board of Education. We will begin our evening with a silent prayer. Dr. Ruffin, any memorials for this evening?
Yes, President Sweeney. In our moment of silence this evening, let us remember former members of the Waterbury Public Schools education community who have passed away. George Haddad, Waterbury educator for 56 years, first retiring as head of mathematics department at Wilby High School, and then as an adult education teacher. He died on February 14th. Mary DeMondo, former preschool teacher at Merriman and Maloney schools, passed away on February 22nd. George Turley Jr., retired teacher at Westside Middle School, passed away on March 2nd. Helen Pagano, mother of former Board of Education President and Commissioner Charles Chuck Pagano, passed away on March 8th. Lila Charlo, former certified nurse's aide teacher at Adult Education, passed away on March 10th. Let us remember them all in prayer.
Moment of silence, please. Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Brown? Present. Vice President Hernandez?
Here.
Commissioner Ireland? Here. Commissioner Nardosi? Here. Commissioner Navarro? Commissioner O'Brien? Commissioner Orso?
Here.
Commissioner Serrano-Adorno? Here. Commissioner Van Stone? Present. President Sweeney?
Here.
And the Honorable Mayor O'Leary?
Here.
I'm sorry, I skipped the pledge. Commissioner Nardosi, I threw you off. Commissioner Nardosi, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is communications. Commissioner Orso, could I have a motion for the communications, please?
Motion to receive and place on file communication as listed.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Next is the approval of minutes. Secretary Serrano-Adorno.
Motion to approve the minutes as listed.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Public address to the board. We do have a speaker signed up. Commissioner Van Stone for the motion.
I motion to suspend the regular order of business to hear from the public.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. First speaker is Sarah Alani.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Sarah Alani Smith. I attend Wilby High School. I'm a senior. I'm here on behalf of all the Muslim children in the Waterbury schools. Waterbury Public Schools' Portrait of a Graduate emphasizes the importance of being socially and emotionally intelligent, to respect others' cultures. But when it comes to Muslim students and families, we are often simply overlooked and we feel underrepresented. Eid is one of the most sacred holidays in Islam, celebrated at the end of Ramadan by millions worldwide. And despite the number of Muslim children and families in the Waterbury schools growing each year and now makes up 1/5 of the population, we are still not honoring a day to commemorate it. In 2015, Waterbury schools became the first district in Connecticut to honor Eid on the district calendar. We were trailblazers for this day as Trumbull, Stamford, and many others followed. This was an excellent start, but it's time to move forward. No, we cannot honor every religious holiday out there with a day off, but with more than 1,500 Muslim students enrolled and growing, this is an issue of equity, not equality. It is time that we acknowledge and take responsibility for the religious bias shown in the district and lack of concrete reasoning for Eid not holding the same importance as Good Friday or Three Kings Day. So I had sent out a Google form to all the high school students who are Muslim in the district, just to kind of get their idea and their opinions on Eid not being represented or celebrated. And this is just a couple of their responses. So Sumreen Mogal, she was the valedictorian at Wilby, I think 2 years ago. She said, I was told Eid could not have been celebrated as the day is a different day every year. But when I had brought up how Good Friday is as well, I was told that it is simply not as important in America as it is in Pakistan. Another person said, year after year, I watched as my Christian peers celebrated Good Friday and Christmas, while Eid is always a touchy subject. It seemed like every time we spoke out about it in regards to it, we got immediately shut down, so we stopped trying. I personally think this is unacceptable. By ignoring this issue, we are kind of silencing the children and we're making them more afraid to speak out on this issue. The fact that the population is growing of Muslim students, I think this is something we have to revisit, and I would really appreciate it if this is something we could look into more. Thank you.
Thank you. And that was our only speaker tonight. Commissioner Vanstone.
Motion to return to the regular order of business. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Vice President Hernandez, would you take us into executive session, please?
I move to convene into executive session for the discussion concerning the appointment, employment, performance, evaluation, health, or dismissal of a public officer or employee.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. We are in executive session. We will be back shortly. thank everyone for their patience while we attended to some important business. Vice President Hernandez, would you bring us back from the executive session?
Motion to return to the regular order of business with the record reflecting that there were no votes taken.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. We are back to the regular order of business. Let me see where we are. Okay. And next up is Superintendent's announcements. Dr. Ruffin.
Thank you, President Sweeney, Vice President Hernandez, Secretary Serrano Adorno, Commissioners, student representative. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening to share a lot of great news. But first and foremost is to thank you for your service in appreciation of School Board's Appreciation Month. I hope that you've enjoyed the treats and the celebrations, the music, the performances, as well as the great food prepared by our very own students here in Waterbury. This is just a small token of appreciation for your tremendous service and for the countless hours that you spend taking care of all of the children here in Waterbury Public Schools. So on behalf of my staff and behalf of all of our students and our staff, we'd like to thank you for your tremendous service and everything that you give to all of us each and every day. Happy month.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and thank you to all your staff. Thank you to all the students who did such marvelous artwork for all of us. Great thank yous up at the top of the stairs when we came in. It's a tremendous honor to be a member of this board and serve this community.
Well, we have a few other things that we want to share with you before I get into the presentation, and we have two new members of the team. I'd like to call Mr. Mendoza to the podium, and he's going to introduce our new Director of Human Capital and Talent Management. And then followed by Mr. Mendoza, I'd like for Ms. Jan Frennis to come up, because while you know her and she's already attended several board meetings, I do want you to have an opportunity to hear a little bit about her and the work that she's done thus far as Chief Academic Officer. Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you, President Sweeney, Vice President Hernandez, Secretary Serrano Adorno, Commissioners, Superintendent Dr. Ruffin. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to introduce our new Director of Human Capital, Gene Thasham Paleth. I've been trying to practice the name. I'm excited to have him joining our Human Capital team. He comes to us with a wide range of operational, fiscal, leadership, and human resource experience, with specific experiences in labor relations and employee relations throughout his nearly 20-year public service career. His most recent service was with the diverse and urban Middletown Public Schools, serving as the Human Resource Manager for over 1,000 employees, 450 students, and 15 sites. Prior to serving at the Middletown BOE, he served the City of Middletown as an Operational Department Director and the Town of Stratford as the Chief Administrative Officer, leading budget, capital, and HR efforts. He also brings with him a wealth of early career private sector knowledge with Aetna and a lifelong spirit of volunteering in his community. Again, I'm excited to have Gene join our Human Capital team as a director in my department. I'd like to introduce Gene. He has a few words to say.
Thank you, Juan, for that kind introduction and kind words. President Sweeney, Vice President Hernandez, Secretary Serrano Adorno, Commissioners, and Superintendent Ruffin. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for this opportunity to serve the wonderful students and families of Waterbury Public Schools. I am blessed to be able to come here and offer myself in any capacity that I can to serve the administrators and students and families of this community. I want you to know that I have a heart for public education. Everything that I have been able to accomplish has been on the backs of my mom was a public school teacher in our old country, and my sisters immigrated to America on a temporary basis. They thought they were coming. And when they came to Hartford, Connecticut, they went to Noah Webster School, and they had no shoes and no coats for the winter season. It was a public school teacher that gathered clothes from other students to get them through. I share that because I want you to know that those two young girls that came to America are now prominent engineers and directors of communication at wonderful, wonderful universities and colleges. Nice. So we have a heart in my family for public education. I look forward to bringing that heart here and working alongside Juan, who's doing a terrific job, and just a pleasure to already have met with your team, and they've been so welcoming. I want you to know that sometimes from the board level, you don't see that on a day-to-day basis, but in the few hours and days I've been here, each encounter has been open and welcoming and encouraging that we're all pulling toward the mission of Waterbury Public Schools, which is to help our students go as far and fly as high as they can to new heights. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you. I'm a jokester. I never watch.
Good evening, President Sweeney, Vice President Hernandez, Secretary Serrano Adorno, Commissioners, student representatives, and Dr. Ruffin. I'd like to thank all of you for the opportunity to continue to serve Waterbury Public Schools in an increased capacity. When I started here as a first-year teacher 25 years ago, I never could have even imagined that I would be standing here in front of you being appointed Chief Academic Officer. I just wanted to learn how to be a good teacher. 10 years ago, I landed my dream job at Central Office as elementary math supervisor, and I never thought I would want to do anything else. But here we are. I do love a challenge. And in the last 4 or 5 weeks or so, as I've been interim Chief Academic Officer, I've really gotten to see a deeper view of the things I've been seeing going on in the district and the work that's going on in the district. And on Monday, we had a site visit at Wilby High School and North End Middle School, and it really got to showcase a lot of the work that's been going on and is continuing to go on. And I was so impressed with the building improvements and with the program improvements. But the key to that day for me was at the very end, we sat down and I observed a focus group, and the student representatives, one of whom is sitting here, were so impressive to me. We listened to those students talk about the changes that they've seen in their schools over the course of growing up through middle school and high school. They talked about the physical improvements, the academic improvements, and they talked about the improvements that they would like to see for students even after they leave. It was truly impressive, and it was the highlight of the day. It was a reminder of why we all do what it is that we've chosen to do. And then I came here tonight, and I saw performances by some wonderfully talented students. We had food that was prepared by some wonderfully talented students, and it reminds me constantly of why we do what we do. And so when the work gets hard, and it is hard, we're in a great field. All we have to do is look around at the students that we serve to remember why it is that we do what we do. We still have a lot of work to do. But as we continue to improve academic programming and student outcomes, I can't tell you that I have all of the answers. What I can tell you is that I will work hard to find those answers, and that I will never, ever lose sight of the fact that everything we do is in service to our students because they deserve the best from us. Thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. And now we get to continue to celebrate you, commissioners.
No voice.
No voice technology.
Oh, no.
Well, there we go.
Technology can't fail us tonight.
Now to celebrate Board of Ed. Thank you. I'm happy to join you today, albeit virtually. Just like school, we know there's no substitute for being with you in person. And while I can't be in Connecticut today, I'm so thankful to have a moment with you now to celebrate Board of Education Appreciation Month. And personally, thank you, and acknowledge how hard you're all working for the children of Connecticut. I want to thank Patrice, Lisa, and the whole team at CAVE for the great work you do. CAVE has really stepped up in these last several years, and I've been fortunate to be able to work more closely with CAVE. Thank you, CAVE. Thank you all boards of education. What a time to be leading. You've done a great job. We see that board members are volunteers, but that could be farther from the reality. Over the past few years, you've taken on heavy fire. You've faced threats, bullying, protests. You stay in the arena. You wear many hats and roll up your sleeves to get to work for our schools and for our students. From elevating critical issues like learning recovery and mental health support, to ensuring that parents and communities get to have more of a say in their child's learning. Your efforts in and for your communities make all the difference. Thank you for all you do. I remember when I was in Connecticut as a commissioner, I worked so closely with Bob, Patrice, and so many at CAVE to make sure that we safely reopen our schools. I think I saw them more than I saw my own kids during that time because we were on Zooms almost daily, and I counted on CAVE as a critical partner. And I remember having conversations with our local board leaders and our board members and recognizing that your jobs changed so much too, that so much was at stake. Well, what we're focusing on now is a little bit different than reopening our schools, but the level of urgency should be just as high. We need to make sure that we're raising the bar for our students. We don't have to build the system back the way it was before. Shame on us if we do. Let's raise the bar by looking at creative ways to give our students a more rigorous and comprehensive education. Let's raise the bar by boldly improving our children's learning conditions. Now is the time to make sure we address the teacher shortage in Connecticut and across the country. And we also have to make sure we're providing mental health supports in a way that's much better than we did before. Before, we only dealt with mental health after the trauma. Let's focus on Tier 1 mental health supports for all of our students. And let's raise the bar by strengthening the pathways our students have to rewarding lives and careers. In Connecticut, there's so much energy around making sure students have career and college pathways, making sure that we're tapping them on the shoulder in middle school to let them know the careers that exist in Connecticut and beyond. We have an opportunity to reimagine what our schools look like, what our high schools look like, with micro-credentials, internships. As board members, you're at the forefront of that. You're the leaders that are going to get that done. Now's the time to transform education for the better, to build strong systems that can make sure the progress we've made outlasts us in our current positions. With leaders like you, I have complete confidence that we can do it. You led us through a pandemic, and you're going to lead us as we reimagine education and raise the bar. Thank you.
Tamari, and I'm a senior at Cosby High School.
My name is Micah Holmes, and I'm a junior at Everett College High School. Tornza and I are student representatives on the Board of Education.
On behalf of the Cosby High School community and the Early College High School, we would like to take this opportunity to say thank you for all the wonderful work that you do to ensure that we receive the best educational experience possible and supporting our programs like our school-based health clinic, our reverse robotics team, our life smarts team, and our medical dogs program.
We would also like to thank the board members as well as Dr. Ruffin for the continuous support on the Early College High School. And thank you for helping us get our associate's degree as well and obtain higher education. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Christian Zella. I'm a 12th grader here at Kennedy High School, and I would like to thank the Board of Education for giving me this opportunity to highlight the key events that's been going on with Kennedy High School, such as the boys basketball team making it to a meet also.
Hi, my name is Eva Pineda. I'm an 11th grader here at Kennedy High School, and I wanted to thank the Board of Education for really representing the students and allowing us to speak on what we think and showing us the highlights and really showing that they care about the schools and the students.
Hi, I'm Eric Arifi, the senior student representative at WAMS.
Hi, I'm Grace Henderson, and I'm the junior student representative also from WAMS. We would like to thank the board and the commissioners for their continuous comments and courage that has truly given us the confidence that our words can make a change just like theirs have.
I would also like to thank the Board of Education for allowing our voices to be heard and providing networking opportunities.
We would also like to thank the board and the commissioners for their countless hours and dedication to make sure that we receive the best possible education we can have. On behalf of the student body, we would like to say
thank you.
I would like to thank the Board of Education for giving me an opportunity to talk about my school accomplishments.
I would like to thank the Board of Education for all the opportunities they provide for the students here in the Waterbury Public School District.
Thank you. My name is Nick Dravick, and I am the proud band director of the John F. Kennedy Marching Band, Color Guard, and Dance Team programs here at Kennedy High School in our very own Waterbury, Connecticut. I wanted to take a moment to express our gratitude to the Waterbury Board of Education for your unwavering support of our music program and our students. It is because of this support that you have allowed us to go to and represent Connecticut and Waterbury in the National Independence Day Parade in Washington, D.C. this summer, July 4th, 2023. We appreciate your investment in our education and your commitment to providing opportunities and resources for us to showcase our talents. It is because of that support that we are able to bring students from all walks of life to experience a journey that they might not have been able to before in our program. We are also experiencing a renewed excitement and passion for excellence in music education since the pandemic. We have so much to be grateful for. As we begin our preparations for the parade, we are reminded of the tremendous impact that the board has had on our lives. Your dedication to our success has inspired us to work harder and strive for excellence in all areas of education. And once again, thank you, Waterbury Board of Education, for making this incredible opportunity possible. We promise to make you all proud, and the city of Waterbury proud, in the National Independence Day Parade this summer. Thank you again for everything you've done, and we hope to see you this summer. Bye-bye.
I wish I could go. Nice.
This is just some of the special moments that our students and staff have shared with you about the wonderful things that you make happen on their behalf. We were also excited Monday to host Chairman Jeff Curry, Representative Curry, along with Representative Napoli of the 73rd District and Representative Butler of the 72nd District, visited North End Middle School and Willoughby High School. I would like to thank my staff who prepared for the arrangements and made the schedule and made certain that not only were our students represented, but our students had a voice in organizing the program. The representative visited North End Middle School in Willoughby. They were able to experience some of the highlighted needs and improvements that the school has made, especially over the last 2.5 to 3 years. The visit was to highlight the need for continued educational funding for our schools and our district. They were also able to see new renovations, new learning spaces that have been created by these schools, and opportunities for our students, and they did get to hear directly from our students, which was very powerful. At this time, and I know the last board meeting that we were asked about our reading program and some questions about what we're doing to address reading and literacy in Waterbury. So I'd like to invite Dina to the podium, and she will explain some of the exciting work that we've been doing. This is not new to us in Waterbury, but you will see and have an appreciation for how deeply that work continues. So, Ms. Morrow, will you please take the podium and give us an excellent presentation?
My pleasure. Good evening, President Sweeney, Vice President Hernandez, Secretary Serrano-Adorno, Commissioners, student representatives, and Dr. Ruffin. I'm very excited to be here and present you with some updates tonight, and what an exciting night to be here to personally say thank you. Thank you all for everything you do, and truly for all of the support you have given me and reading and language arts over the last decade. It was a decade ago you called me up here for this position, and we've done so much together, so I thank you for that. So tonight I'm here to talk a little bit about the new reading legislation. I'm sure you've heard it and you've been following it. One of the things that's going into effect in July 2023 is a universal screener that all students will have to take K through 3. And it helps us to identify students that might be at risk of future reading failure. I'm proud to say that we've had this universal screener in place here in Waterbury since the 2014-15 school year. And we go beyond 3rd grade, we screen all kids in kindergarten through 5th grade. So we're going to continue with that process. We're completely in alignment and ahead of the legislation that's beginning in July. Another piece of legislation that's come through is that all districts have to select an evidence-based reading program or curriculum, and the state has now produced a list that they have gone through. So we had a couple of choices. We either could select something from that list, we could continue with what we have as long as it's evidence and research-based and apply for a waiver, or you could ask for a deferment because of funding and needing time to switch over to something for another year. What we did was we applied for the waiver because I firmly believe that our curriculum is evidence-based, it is research-based. In fact, we developed our curriculum in collaboration with the Connecticut State Department of Ed underneath the Connecticut reading model. In fact, I gave some testimony for that before it became the reading model for the state of Connecticut. So our curriculum was built to support the legislation that ended up being created and being passed for July of 2023. So that's exciting work. And most recently, I think it was on March 1st, there was a public hearing about an act to delay the implementation. It's difficult for some districts to switch if they weren't in alignment with the science of reading to have all of this up and running and prepared for July 2023. So they're looking to push it back. Again, our curriculum is that we have. In our curriculum, and I believe you were sent an email earlier today that sort of has the full information. So we have a very comprehensive curriculum in Waterbury that draws from multiple evidence-based programs. And so it's not just about a single program, because with reading, there's really not a one-size-fits-all model. And so you'll see that we draw from Foundations, we draw from Wonders 2017, we draw from Hegarty, we draw from all of these programs that provide a key piece of the puzzle and hit the key content pieces that are a part of what made the legislation for July 2023. In your presentation, you'll also see that there's a ladder of reading, and basically what that ladder is showing is that for students, they're all in a different place. So we use our universal screening assessments and we use our progress monitoring to determine an individualized instructional focus for all 8,000 plus elementary children. And again, we go beyond the K-3 legislation, so that's for K through 5. And we differentiate instruction specific to each child's needs. And we address that through our small group, which has been a big focus this year in our schools and as part of our district and our school improvement plan. We also have a robust system of intervention. You'll see that in your packet. So if children fall behind, and because we have that screener, it flags kids that might need extra support, we have systems in place to provide extra intervention in addition to their Tier 1 core program. And if they're not doing well there or well enough, we also have Tier 3, which is a more intensive intervention. And that's provided by our reading department, our reading teachers. And so you'll see here that we have several reading teachers and Title I literacy interventionists to work with our neediest children. We were also able to hire some literacy tutors, particularly with the pandemic. We had kids who had fallen behind, and we wanted to make sure that we were able to catch everyone that had needs. So the reading teachers, the Title I literacy facilitators, and the literacy tutors work to support the kids who need that extra piece. But we also have literacy facilitators, and our literacy facilitators act as coaches, and they provide supports to all of the adults in the building. So you know we have a lot of new teachers. So as they come in, the coaches really provide that ongoing support in teaching them the evidence-based practices and all of the different components of our curricula to make sure they're successful in the classroom and ultimately impact student achievement. As far as teacher capacity, we have a lot in place to sustain our learning and our ongoing learning. So we are a part of the Connecticut literacy model. We've been a part of that for 10 years now, doing that work, starting with that assessment pilot, you recall. And that work continues today. I meet with them every single month, 2 hours a month, and they come in, they provide us with training and coaching, and they help support our systems. And it helps to build the entire model we have in place. And all of that training that we learn trickles down to our teachers who impact our students on a day-to-day basis. We also have funding through Title I that's specific to professional development. And with that, we get additional consulting from organizations like Literacy How, a premier organization here in Connecticut out of Trumbull, and also Hill for Literacy, an established and well-evidenced organization that's out of Massachusetts. We do a lot of work closely with them as part of the Connecticut literacy model, but also above and beyond what the model is able to provide through this funding. And we have some work, stipend, curriculum work, so that teachers can work in building new things and new resources for our students, and so that funding will cover some of that work to be done. Our new teacher onboarding, and I think if you click, you'll see some of these pieces. Yep, these are some of our conferences. This was just this year. We headed out to Massachusetts, and you know what was awesome? One of the presenters at this conference was from California. And she walked right up to us and she said, you people are from Waterbury Public Schools? I saw the documentary, the intro documentary about you. So we were on the map in Massachusetts, yes. And they called on us to share some of the work that we're doing in here with the educators that came from all over the country for this particular conference covered by Title I. If you click again. Okay, so this is very tiny print. It is a 20-point list. It's now 21. This is our teacher onboarding. So when new teachers come into Waterbury, they need a lot of support. So it's our literacy facilitators that work with our teachers to understand how do you administer these assessments? What does the data mean? What do we do with that data? Now how do you work with that child based on their individual needs? And so every part of our curriculum is built into this onboarding system to make sure that everybody's coming in, understands what we're doing for kids, how it's evidence-based, what the brain research is behind that, and how that's going to impact the students in their classroom. And so it is a very, it's a lengthy process. Our onboarding can go all year long as we develop teachers. But because we have teachers coming more and more frequently as we're hiring, we wanted to make sure we had a very specific process in place to keep teachers on board with everything that we're doing for students K through 5 in that area. And then the last thing we're doing is a study with Northeastern. This is actually through in part of my dissertation, where we're looking at a different way to provide professional development for teachers. I would say, I think it's at 54% of colleges now, if you look at the national teacher quality studies, only 54% of the colleges prepare teachers to teach elementary students how to read. So that concerns us when we get incoming teachers, that if they weren't trained in the evidence and the science, it's incumbent upon districts to be able to provide that piece for them. And so we're looking at providing professional development during their grade level meetings because it allows us to differentiate for teachers. Because again, like working with kids, working with our adults is not a one-size-fits-all. I can't give out one topic to 406 teachers when some have been here for 30 years and other for 30 minutes. And so this allows us to differentiate and make sure we're touching on our content as well as our curriculum and our instructional practices. And it's been overwhelmingly successful so far, so we're looking to scale this up next year. And then this is the documentary that it's sort of put us on the map. So this is Hopeville, USA. This is a trailer. Director Harvey Hubble, he's an award-winning director, asked for a district in Connecticut that was actually applying the science and the research. And Margie Gillis, who's the president of Literacy How, said to him, you have to go to Waterbury and see what they're doing. So he did, and he didn't leave. Y'all probably met Harvey at some point. He goes to every community event. And in fact, he was just at UConn last week when they were doing a release of a different documentary. This is in its final stages now, and it should be released this spring. So we're very excited, but it highlights the problem, and it highlights the solution, and it talks specifically about everything that Waterbury is doing in support of this national crisis.
For decades, literally decades, reading researchers have been trying to bring the findings to the attention of people who are on the front lines, who are trying to help kids who are struggling.
There's no question that the parent, the teacher, and the learner are critically important to education. It is essential that we don't consign folks to a life of ill education and misery.
Literacy is a huge challenge. In all fairness to teachers, and what I believe to be the most noble profession, is not because teachers don't want to help children know how to read well. They don't come in with the tools. Our country is at stake.
Low literacy in this country has documented consequences. It puts them at risk for school failure. It puts them at risk for school dropout. You know, it is one of the elements on the school-to-prison pipeline.
When I got to prison, they tested me and they told me that I was reading in the 3rd grade level. I was 23 years old at the time. I said to myself, I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to learn to read, and I'm a beast about in life.
We do have a national crisis here. All of that information that's out there is true. Not everybody is following what our scientists are showing us is best for kids. Why? Why? I don't understand. I grew up in Waterbury, Connecticut.
This is Waterbury. This is your world. And if you're going to teach in Waterbury, you're going to have to deal with children who have situations at home that aren't ideal. but you believe in your heart that you can change that child's trajectory.
I'm Mark V, documentary filmmaker and advocate for the learning difference. When I realized the state of reading in America, not only for learning difference, but for kids across the country, I went on a search for a district that was transforming its system for the better. I didn't have to look far. I was quickly directed to Waterbury, Connecticut. In 2018, the administrators of the local government of Waterbury band together to solve their city's literacy problem. Using evidence-based research, they developed a program to ensure that every child will graduate with proficient reading skills. With leadership, care, and hope for the future, any community can transform their education system. We would like to share the revolutionary work of Waterbury with cities and towns across America.
It's very hard to do the soul searching needed to say, I need to change. If we don't do that kind of soul searching, then we keep doing what's not going to work well.
Absolutely, another city can put into place the systems, the resources, the materials, the curricula. Absolutely. That's a choice. Wow. Thank you. And thank you. That's because of your support. Every time I come and I talk and I ask, you say yes every time and you support, and it makes a huge impact on our kids. I'm very proud of what our teachers do every single day for our kids as a result of that. So when this is out, this will be a celebration for everybody, right? Yes, thank you. Any questions? Can help?
Amazing presentation.
We're just blown away. Thank you so much for everything you do and all your leadership.
It's literally my pleasure. I love it. I told you when you hired me, I would work as hard as I could.
I remember that.
And it is my life's passion, particularly here in Waterbury. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morrison. Very good. And let's all come out on March 19th to celebrate our Waterbury Career Academy boys basketball team as they have made Division III state finals. WCA basketball versus Bloomfield High School on Sunday, March 19th at 3 p.m. Mohegan Sun Arena. Let's be there. Go Spartans. Commissioners, this concludes my announcements for this evening.
Any questions for the superintendent? No questions? Okay. All right. No president's comments tonight. I think we've kept you long enough. But I do want to hear from our student representative, Gianni Bombo.
Good morning, President Sweeney, Vice President Hernandez, Secretary Serrano Adorno, Commissioners, and Superintendent Dr. Ruffin. My name is Gianni Bonval, representing Willoughby High School, and I'm currently in the 12th grade. I'd like to start off with Willoughby's current highlights. Regarding academics, juniors will be taking the SATs next Thursday. In club events, Willoughby's robotics team competed last weekend, winning 7 matches, 1 draw, and 4 losses. Also in club events, Willoughby's drumline marched in the Irish Parade March 4th and received many compliments from the event hosts. In our drama department, we have an upcoming play called Aladdin by Miss Labonte on the 5th and 6th of May. And March 2nd, we'll be conducted our annual blood drive, which we received a host of volunteers donating blood. Also in school events, last Monday we had hosted a visit of 3 state representatives, as mentioned earlier, Chair of Education Community Representative Jeff Curry, Representatives Ron Napoli and Larry Butler. In sports highlights, our winter sports just ended with the boys basketball team playing in the state tournament. For academic awards, Willoughby's JROTC program conducted an award ceremony for cadets showing leadership in and away from the program. And in student awards, Jordan Vargas received the Student Superintendent Award for 2023. For staff awards, Mr. Piccolo, our chemistry teacher, received the Teacher of the Year Award at Willoughby High School as well. Mr. Piccolo is also the athletic director and the head's basketball boys coach. Finally, in community involvement, I'm sure some of the board members have already tried some of our culinary program's food due to how involved the program is within our community. The program does many catering events in and off school grounds, and Wilby is also planning to start a laundromat ran from the students, for students, and will eventually become open to our community. And before I conclude, I'd also like to take this time to recognize our principals, Dr. Michelle Baker and Mr. Joseph Begnell, and the entire Wilby administration and staff for all the hard work and effort that they've been putting in recently. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a wonderful report. Any questions or comments for Gianni? Very nice job. Thank you so much. And it was great meeting with you when Representative Curry was touring through that school. That was a wonderful, wonderful day. That was just amazing, all of it, all of it. Thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. And so we will go on to item 11, Committee on School Personnel, Commissioner Hernandez. Who's that? Vice President Hernandez.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Committee on School Personnel moves that the Waterbury Board of Education approve the appointment of Ryan Sullivan as principal of Tinker Elementary School, effective immediately.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. In discussion, Superintendent Ruffin.
Thank you, President Sweeney. It is a pleasure to recommend Ryan Sullivan as the principal of Tinker Elementary School. Ryan is a proud and successful educator here in Waterbury and has been since 1998. He has served as a teacher and a leader in Kingsbury Elementary, North End Middle School, and as interim principal of Tinker for the last several months. We've had an opportunity to see as his ability to not only lead the school, but also to be able to lead the school effectively in the rapport that he has with his students, with his teachers and parents and community. So I'm very pleased to recommend Ryan as the principal of Tinker Elementary School.
Is he here?
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
You have to vote first.
Yes. Okay. You do a roll call? Yeah. Okay. Roll call vote?
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Vice President Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Ireland?
Yes.
Commissioner Nardozzi? Yes. Commissioner Navarro?
Yes.
Commissioner Urso?
Yes.
Commissioner Serrano-Adorno? Yes. President Sweeney?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
I gotta adjust this a little bit, hold on. This was meant for the short people. Sorry, Dina. So I'm honored to stand before you today. President Sweeney, Vice President Hernandez, Secretary Adorno, and Dr. Ruffin, the rest of the board, the rest of the commissioners, Dr. Ruffin's cabinet. Very excited, as Dr. Ruffin said, I'm a proud Waterbury graduate of Crosby High School. And if you told me as a senior in high school I would one day be a principal of an elementary school in Waterbury, I would have said, no way, no way. But as I got along further in my, when I started teaching, it was a goal of mine. I didn't think it would come this soon. I have everyone to thank here, but more importantly, I have the staff of Tinker to thank. They make the school run. I'm just there, I'm tall, I'm the face of it, but they are the people who are on the front lines every day, and without them, we couldn't do the work that we're doing. Yes, we know, as Dina said, we have a lot of work to do. As Jan said, there is work to be done, and we are going to work as hard as we can to make Tinker one of the best elementary schools in Waterbury. That's my promise to you, standing before you today. Again, my staff, my students, when you open up those bags, you're going to see something that came from one of my students who wrote a book, he wrote it as a second grader. He's now in third grade. He is a wonderful young man by the name of Marquise Ramnon. Expect big things from him in the future. Lastly, I have some people here. My dad's getting very antsy because the NCAA tournament's on. Duke's on it now, so I got to make this quick. So he's
By
very
all means,
antsy.
please introduce that very patient group, and we apologize for keeping you all night.
So
We would love to see you.
My beautiful
Please
wife,
stand.
Casey, who is also a Waterbury educator of lacrosse. My father, Dennis, my mother, Elaine, my mother-in-law, Judy, and my father-in-law, Gary. And I could not forget probably one of the most important people in all seriousness who's helping me along and learn about being an instructional leader, about the ins and outs of reading, and that's my VP, Claudia Biello. So without her, so yes, when it comes time, I'm putting in a big plug for her to remain as my VP. So just remember her name when it comes up. But I am so grateful. Thank you. Come visit us at Tinker. Our doors are open. Like I said, we're doing some great things, and we're going to continue to do great things. And I hope I will make you proud.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any questions, anything? Thank you again very much.
He is tall. I didn't expect him to be that tall. I expected him to be
Congratulations. Right. We're going to talk about Marquis' book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So yes, so Dr. Ruffin just wanted me to mention about the book. So the book that you guys are receiving, he wrote it when he was in 2nd grade. It's the title is, he wrote a book about behavior. When I tell you this kid is the best behaved kid in our school, and I mean, does not do anything wrong, but he said, I wanted to help the kids who may not listen to adults, who may not listen, and he put this together with the help of his mother. It's on Amazon. He wrote a little message to you on the inside. He was working on that just to say he appreciates everything that you guys do on a daily basis. He was so happy to have a author signing yesterday. So, like I said, look for big things from him. We're trying to get the news. His mom said Channel 8 News reached out to them. So hopefully he'll be on the news soon, and I will let you know when that happens. But he's a great kid. Like I said, that book he wrote. He started it in 1st grade, finished it in 2nd grade, had it published over the summer. So he's a great kid, really great kid, and we're proud of him. And that's one of many at Tinker that we're proud of. Any questions on Marquis? Yes.
Why don't you have him come to one of the meetings?
I will get him. We were going to try to get him here tonight, but it was a little too late. I will reach out to Mom, get him here, and we'll work on a date to get him here. Absolutely. All right. Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you.
And commissioners, the book that you have, Mark, is for you to read it, and then after you've read it, if you want to autograph it yourselves, and you could donate it to your favorite library.
Okay. So on to item number 12, which is our consent calendar. Does anybody wish to remove anything from the consent calendar? Okay, seeing none. I will read the consent calendar. Item 12.1, Committee on Finance, request approval of a professional services agreement with Critical Response Group Incorporated for digital school mapping. 12.2, Committee on Finance, request approval of Amendment 3 to the professional services agreement with Connecticut Communications, LLC, for Mitel Voice over IP Solution. 12.3, Committee on Finance, request approval of an agreement with Crown Castle Fiber, LLC, for wide area network. 12.4, Committee on Finance, request approval of transfer in the 2022-2023 operating budget. 12.5, Committee on Building and School Facilities, use of school facilities by school organizations and/or city departments. 12.6, Committee on Building and School Facilities, use of school facilities by outside organizations and/or waiver requests. Commissioner Ireland, could I have a motion?
I motion to approve consent calendar items 12.1 through 12.6 as read.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Item 14, Committee of the Whole, Commissioner Hernandez, 14.1.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Committee of the Whole moves that the Waterbury Board of Education approve of a memorandum of agreement with Community Mental Health Affiliations, CMHA, at no cost for implementation of cognitive behavioral therapy for trauma in schools, CBITS, and/or bounce back, BB, subject to any non-substantive changes approved by the Corporation Counsel's Office.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'm sorry, Commissioner Ireland.
Thank you, President Sweeney. Can I just have just a little information more about this item?
Miguel, would like some information on that item?
Good evening, President Sweeney, Vice President Hernandez, Secretary Serrano Adorno, Board of Ed Commissioners, Student Representative, Dr. Ruffin. So this is a request for approval for our MOU with Community Mental Health Associates for this no-cost agreement. This agency will provide staff trained in these two intervention modalities. So we short for CBITS and bounce back. And so they would provide these services at no cost for our students. And it's for students who are struggling with the stress of trauma. I can answer any more questions if you have them.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Pabot. Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Okay, item 15.1, Commissioner Orso.
Thank you. Item 15.1, ladies and gentlemen, the Committee on Finance moves that the Waterbury Board of Education approve to apply for the U.S. Department of Energy Renew America's School Grant.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained?
Excuse me, Madam President. I think that Louise was coming forward.
Okay. Nope. Come. Yeah. Come on.
That's her last.
Good evening, President Sweeney, Vice President Hernandez, Secretary Serrano Adorno, Commissioners, Student Representative, and Dr. Ruffin. We are here tonight asking for your approval to apply for this U.S. Department of Energy grant. And key to our success in the first phase of the application with our concept paper to the U.S. Department of Energy was our consulting firm. The city has brought on board CSW Energy. They are here tonight. Also key to our success, I believe, was the completion of such a thorough and timely facility study for the district, which we incorporated in large part into the application. The representatives from CSW were here and had hoped to share a few benefits of this program with you. If you have time to take that up this evening.
Okay. Anyone have questions? I think, would you like to hear from the gentleman? Okay.
Yes.
Please.
Okay, the gentlemen here are Alan Sabins from CSW and Rob Klee, and I'll just turn it over to them.
Thank you so much, Louise, for that introduction. And we know that you've had a full agenda tonight, so we're going to be very brief, and we actually will focus in on your questions. Again, I'm Rob Klee, along with my partner here, Alan Savins, and thank you all for giving us a few moments of your time. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we'll just give a brief, we're going to talk a little bit about this Department of Energy program, the Renew America's Schools grant, and then highlight some of the projects that we are proposing to do at Waterbury schools. Alan, if you want to introduce yourself as well.
Hi, good evening. My name is Alan Sabins, program lead, and maybe backing up one step, we were recently awarded to become the Waterbury Renewable Energy Project team. So we're here on behalf of the City Award, and we're here to support not only the city, but also the Waterbury Public Schools in these types of initiatives. Chris Palmer, our colleague, is not here tonight, but obviously, here's Rob.
Yes, and I form the sort of policy part of the team. I'm also the former Commissioner of Energy and Environment for the state of Connecticut. So next slide, please. So very briefly, the Renew America School grant is offered by the Department of Energy as part of the bipartisan infrastructure law that passed in 2021. It's a program that has $500 million available over 5 years, though in this first year, it has $80 million available. And as Louise said, there were over 1,000 submissions in that initial stage for more than 70 times the available dollars. So I did the math, which I'm a lawyer by training, which is not always trustworthy when lawyers do math. But it's about $5.6 billion of ask, and yet Waterbury, again, Louise is humble through Louise's hard work, through Rosh's hard work. We've made it to that next step to actually submit a full application, and huge credit goes to the Waterbury team and that facilities assessment, which highlighted the need. The other core component of this grant is that it's focused, or is a part of the Biden administration's Justice 40 initiative, which is trying to find ways to deliver federal funds for climate and clean energy to underserved communities. And that's part of what we have expressed through this grant application. Though interestingly, the DOE has developed criteria of which schools qualify under their rubrics and their calculations of what's an underserved school. And it's not all of Waterbury schools qualify. 20 of them did, and that was our starting point of how to focus in on 5 schools for the deployment of innovative energy technologies, which Alan will talk briefly about.
So as Rob mentioned, we started with 20 plus schools, and based on our discussions with Rosh and others, we were able to whittle that down to 5 schools that are highlighted at the bottom of this slide. And part of this grant initiative is to deploy clean and renewable energy initiatives and technologies. So if you look at the top of the slide, that highlights the technologies that we took into consideration, which are EV chargers, solar energy, and battery storage. So briefly, what we'd like to do is highlight what we found at each site. And again, in working with Rosh, the goal was to identify primarily where solar would make sense. And we did that by reconciling the facility information and primarily the roof age of the sites. So that's pretty much the starting base of how we got to the 5 schools. What you'll notice in each of these 5 slides, just to hit the high points, highlighted yellow is where solar would be under consideration. The dashed red would be where EV chargers would be under consideration. And the blue is where battery storage, the actual technology, would be installed. Highly, just want to make sure this is a very, very high level assessment. It's all up for discussion, all up for negotiation in terms of where all of this would go on the site. This was simply just meant for us to at least theorize where it could go. So this is Buck Hill School. Next is Sprague. You may not be able to see, but the red dash is up on the top right-hand side of the parcel there. Next is Crosby. Red dash, top right, blue, sort of center at the top. Tinker, so you'll see blue at the bottom, red, sort of a question mark because parking is a bit of a challenge there, as we all know. So we flagged a roadside, so it would actually be on the curb as a public benefit as well. Again, a question mark, but just something that we wanted to put here as a concept. And lastly, generality, so we have red dash at the bottom, blue sort of center, and yellow around the newer roof sections that are already in place there. Lastly, to highlight the numbers associated, so these are very, very high level estimates. These are sort of the worst case, if you will. The goal is to go in high with the expectation that it will come down, and we'll learn more as we proceed. If we're asked or granted the award, we would learn more through a competitive bid process, which will take place, Rob will mention in terms of the timing, but we'd be able to hone in these numbers, and the goal would be to bring these numbers down. But if we look at the table from the left to the right, so we have the school, then we have a high-level solar project cost estimate, then the EV charger, then the battery storage. In bold is a sum of each one of those by school. And then to the right of that, there is a match that is coming from the federal program, and that's at 95% of the project cost. So if you look furthest right, that 5% is the match that we're here for that would be coming from Waterbury.
I just want to point out that in the documents I sent to you in advance of this evening, I did note that our CFO has approved a source of funds for that, should we be awarded the grant and need to produce the 5% match. And Rob has some other information on that as well.
Thank you, Louise. Yes, no, and I see, would you like to?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the 5% match if we are awarded and we submit the application or are awarded. This would come from the sinking funds that we've transferred a lot of surplus into. We said that we would use it for capital improvement type projects, so that's what we would use the match for, will come from the sinking fund.
I can't see. How much is it? How much is the 5%? I can't see it.
So the 5% is about $643,000 over the 5 years total of the grant. But that is the worst case scenario if Waterbury Public Schools is responsible solely for that grant. The next slide highlights 4 different Connecticut clean energy incentive programs which would qualify for the state or local match. The challenge here is that because of the speed with which the Department of Energy is moving on this grant application, we can't know for certain that we would qualify for these state funds yet. One of them, the first, is the Connecticut Office of School Construction Grant and Review, which you're probably very familiar with. Solar arrays actually qualify for their state grant funds, and those are not federal based, so those could entirely cover that 5% local match, because Waterbury gets, as you know, a 79% reimbursement on those state grant funds. There are also there's a program from our Connecticut Green Bank that supports battery storage deployment, and those battery storage incentives can be upwards of about half of the cost of the battery. Again, it's all state money, and that would more than qualify for the federal match. Eversource Energy also provides incentives for EV chargers. Again, significant incentives that could cover quite a high percentage, probably also about 50% of those costs. Again, those 2 programs, the battery program and the EV charging, are capped each year, and they're on a first-come, first-served basis. But we would obviously submit into those. The challenge is we won't know if we have those funds until after the federal grant process runs its course. Finally, Eversource also provides financial incentives for the clean energy you're actually going to produce on your roof in Waterbury. That will be a direct revenue stream. For every bit of solar electricity produced for 20 years, you can get a fixed payment from the utility company for deploying solar. Again, that's a competitive process that we can't bank on right now, but we would be helping the city and the Waterbury Public Schools negotiate those processes. So our last slide is the timeline. Again, the concept paper went in January. The full application is due on a tight timeline itself by April 21st, though the DOE advises you to submit it early, recognizing their system has bugs, flaws. They're at least open about that. And then they will make decisions early this summer. So thank you. We know that we probably went a little longer than you expected from us, but hopefully that gives you a sense of the scale and scope of what we're applying for with the Department of Energy. We're happy to answer questions.
Vice President Hernandez.
When would you know if the other programs allowed us to take that 5%? When is their closing?
So if you can go back 2 slides, each one has their own sort of timeline. The school construction grant process is one that you're probably familiar with. That is an initial request through this Board of Education and through the city to ask for grant authorization for those solar projects. That usually takes a few months to go through both your internal process and the DAS review process. Then you would know whether you have DAS grant money for the solar. The battery storage program, again, is an annual. Do they start beginning of the calendar year?
Pretty much.
Yeah, so the EV charging, the battery storage starts at the beginning of each calendar year. So if we learn that we get, fingers crossed, the federal grant by the middle of 2023, we would be applying for funding for those battery and the EV chargers program for January 1 of 2024. The Eversource incentive program, they run 2 competitive bid processes. One just closed this month in March, another closes in August. So every year, and they still have 3 years or 4 years left on that program? 4 more years on that program. So that has 2 opportunities a year. Again, one of the service that we provide to Waterbury Public Schools and Waterbury is to help with your procurement office, run competitive procurements to get those qualified solar developers on board for the project, solar developer, battery storage, and EV charger developers. And once you have that partner and the project is then going forward, that's the timing of when you apply for the different funding streams.
Okay, and you said you started out with 20 schools, and you selected these 5. Why?
It's a terrific question. I'll let Alan take it.
Yep. Primarily that was with Roche, because we were more or less focused on the solar component. The battery storage and the EV chargers, those can go on basically any school, provided that the geography makes sense. Solar is, you really want to make sure that it goes somewhere where we don't have to take it off, or it doesn't have to be taken off during the life of the project, which is typically 20 years. So we took the 20 schools and we looked at the roof ages and we brought it down to that 5 based on generally having a new roof and the other 4 having new roofs over the course of the coming years.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes, good evening. Thank you. This is very exciting. I just wondered, would the EV stations be open to the public, or are they just for the school personnel? How does that work?
No, a wonderful question, and that is actually part of the goal would be to have them open to the public and accessible to the public. And I think that's part of why our application may have scored well, because it's bringing distributed EV charging to neighborhoods, particularly in Waterbury, where you have a lot of renters, you have a lot of folks who may not be able to charge easily at home, but to have that resource spread around Waterbury throughout the community is part of the overall goal that the Department of Energy is trying to really, as electric vehicles are our future, making sure everyone can participate in that future. And if charging is a barrier, these will help break down a barrier if it's not easy to charge at home.
Well, that it will be a challenge because the schools that you've cited have General Raleigh doesn't have a lot of room for cars. You should see it when the pickup time. So, and I'm looking at there's city neighborhood schools which would give access, but I think it's going to be very interesting to see how you come up with a space to place these that's safe and accessible, especially with the traffic that we're looking at. I'm not an engineer, so I'll defer to you. But my second question, in the facility study, we're planning to, I think, Dr. Ruffin, we're planning to tear down Bucks Hill and build a new school, correct?
Thank you, Commissioner. The conversation around Bucks Hill is to either repurpose Bucks Hill and a possibility with, of course, board approval for a new school that would take care of the north end. It would be in the north end section. But to totally tear down Bucks Hill, that was just a part of a conversation, but not really a direction. It was more or less, we could repurpose it, perhaps make it an early childhood center, because we would definitely need an early childhood center considering the annex in its current state.
Okay, I just didn't want that to interfere. Okay, thank you.
And no, these are terrific questions, and Alan and I wanted to make sure that these are just conceptual design at a very early stage, unfortunately driven by the speed with which the Department of Energy is going. All of those key decisions about where it makes sense to have the EV chargers, where it makes sense to have the battery, understanding the flow of the schools and the neighborhood, those are all conversations that we invite and want to have and need to have in order for any of this to be successful. The challenges that we need to meet their extremely aggressive sort of grant timelines. So we wanted to put something down on paper that gets the idea in front of the Department of Energy of what's possible here, and then our goal 100% is making sure that it's actually delivering something that you need, you want, and works.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner, I just want to say on the public use of the chargers, there has been conversation, and we'd invite more conversation about this as we move through the project, if we're fortunate enough to be funded, is to provide public access and out of school time if there are schools where we're doing this and there's too much congestion in the area. So those would be options that the superintendent, her team, and your board could consider, as at some schools perhaps it's not open all day when there are students in the yard. Okay.
Thank you, Louise.
Anyone else? We're ready to vote? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Wonderful questions.
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Louise.
Thanks for your
Thank
patience.
you, Louise.
Okay. Okay, item 15.2, Commissioner Urso.
Item 15.2. Ladies and gentlemen, the Committee on Finance moves that the Waterbury Board of Education approve a construction contract with J.A. Rosa, LLC, for 6 auditorium upgrade improvements at the following: Crosby High School, Kennedy High School, Rotella Magnet School, Waterbury Arts Magnet School, Westside Middle School, and Wilby High School.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. 15.3, Commissioner Urso.
15.3. The Committee on Finance moves that the Waterbury Board of Education approve an agreement with United Staging and Rigging, LLC, for rental of staging equipment for Waterbury Arts Magnet Schools production of Footloose.
Is that a second?
Yes.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. 15.4, Commissioner Orso.
15.4, the Committee on Finance moves that the Waterbury Board of Education approve a construction contract with All State Construction Incorporated for HVAC upgrades, replacements at Gilmartin and Duggan Elementary Schools, subject to any non-substantive changes approved by the Corporation Counsel's Office.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes, the HVAC initiative to do, it sounds like we're doing a lot of schools. I just want to make sure we're not piecemealing it so that it goes under the Good Jobs Ordinance. Because that was a problem several years ago, that they were doing a few schools and it came under the threshold. So I just want to make sure, that this is not going to interfere with compliance with the Good Jobs Ordinance.
No, it's going to be approved by the Good Job Ordinance Board.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
So we're going to follow the guidance, and it's going to go through the regular process.
So the threshold is, I think, $300,000. So is this more than $300,000?
Yes. The amount for the project is $3,198,000 for the HVAC upgrades for the Gilmartin and Duggan. So it's $3.2 million.
Okay, all right. Thanks
So
a
it's
lot.
way over the threshold.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Can I just, excuse me.
Commissioner Orso.
Hey, Mike, excuse me. Duggan and Gilmartin are fairly new schools. What kind of upgrades are they going with these schools?
Every chiller has about 10 to 12 years of a lifespan. Both of these schools, they carry R12, a refrigerant, which is going to be banned by 2025.
Oh, wow.
As you probably know by now, it's very hard to come by and they're very expensive. By 1987, it was pretty much banned in the United States and slowly phased out. So at some point, we're going to face the challenge of even getting a refrigerant to have them fixed if they have to be fixed. So now it's a perfect time to have something brand new that's going to last for another 20 years, hopefully for another 20 years when it's maintained correctly, as you know.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is Superintendent's notification to the board, items 16.1 through 16.6. Secretary Serrano Adorno for a motion.
Motion to receive and place on file the superintendent's notification to the board, items 16.1 through 16.6 as listed.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Item 17, we're going to go into executive session, and we will be adjourning from executive session when we come back to the table. Vice President Hernandez for the motion.
I move to convey into executive session for discussion concerning the appointment, employment, performance, evaluation, health, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, and discussion concerning self-evaluations as referenced in Section 1-206A of the Freedom of Information Act.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. We are in executive session. We'll go back to the same we were in earlier.